Hey, it's John F. Gately. Welcome back to the show, and I am back here in Plymouth after my trip to New York on Monday and Tuesday, and I want to give you an update, sort of recap whatever happened in New York. First off, I want to say thank you so much to you for subscribing to the channel, right? Subscribing to the channel, thank you so much. And also for all your comments. You had a lot of comments on these videos that I posted from Manhattan on Monday and Tuesday. I tried to keep up with as many comments as I possibly could, but I love them, and thank you very much as well. A lot of you said, like, stay safe and don't fall for any shenanigans by the left, trying to get us to do something on that would get us arrested or anything like that. So thank you so much for all the well wishes. I really appreciated that. And once again, thank you for all the new subscribers. Yeah, that was just fantastic. Everything went fine with the trip, and let's give you a recap. I've got some notes here. First off, I watched, one of the reasons I went is I wanted to see the media kind of like behind the scenes, and oh my God, are they like amazingly craven. They desperately need Donald Trump. They desperately need Donald Trump. I've never been to an event where there's been so much media. I've been to a presidential inauguration. I've been to many things, but I've never been to an event that was so much media, and they were desperate for that one photo, that glimpse of the man, right? It's just, they desperately need him for their revenue, Trump brings eyeballs to newspapers, media, all of it. It's unbelievable. So I have this story I want to tell you about George Santos. So in the park, I get there fairly early, say like about 9:30ish. I'm sitting in the park, and I'm kind of in the back of the park. There's some chairs. I grab a chair, and next to me are two reporters sitting at a little table at a couple of chairs, and they're typing away, doing their thing. They've got all sorts of cameras, and I see a commotion over to my right, say like 25 yards away. And I can see like something going on over there. And there's one guy walking fairly quickly with sunglasses on, and he's being followed by, say, like 20 reporters. And my eyeglasses I'm getting new ones tomorrow, literally. They're being delivered tomorrow. So my vision isn't all that great, but I pick out George Santos, the infamous congressman, because he's distinctive looking, right? And he's probably the one walking fastest. And I'm like, I said to myself, that's George. What the hell is he doing here? And so after a moment or two, I look at these reporters, and we had chatted for a moment or two, and they seemed nice. And I said, that's George Santos over there. And they were like, what? And I mean, you've never seen anybody move so fast. They were like, boom. They're like, thank you, boom. And they went over there and did their thing. But they're like gnats. I remember one time I went to the Everglades with my dad, this back in, 1994, I think. And we went in August. I don't know what we were thinking. I had a new car, so I drove down there. New Honda Accord, I remember. I drove down there, and we said, all right, let's go to the Everglades. And I remember we got out of the car, and you could see like a pack of mosquitoes a distance away. And the second we got out of there, they must have smelled us or whatever. They just came at us like this mob of mosquitoes. And that's what the media was in the park, and also up at Trump Tower. It was just absolutely crazy. So I stroll over to the George Santos scrum, but I keep a significant distance. And then, I'm back up against a tree and at the end of the pathway, and all of a sudden Santos basically comes walking like right towards me. And I didn't get this video because I tried to. I tried to hang back, but the guy literally just walked right by me. Why he was there, like, I don't know. Shortly after that, Marjorie Taylor Greene showed up, and I think she might be on the shorter side, so you really couldn't even see her. I had never seen a media scrum this large. I mean, this was amazing. It was just crazy. I've never seen a scrum this large. You couldn't really hold your camera up. At that point, I was like, okay, I'll get a little bit closer in there. But you couldn't see anything. You couldn't hear anything. And we're going to get to that in a minute about why you could not hear Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But never seen a scrum like that. She was only there in the park, I'm just going to say for, I don't want to throw out an exact number, but less than 10 minutes because of the protesters from the other side. We'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so in regards to protesters, the Trump people, the pro-Trump people, I've got to say, they have a sense of humor, right? We had people that were spinning basketballs and all dressed up in red, white, and blue, but they were not organized in any way, shape, or form. I can understand from an advanced point of view. I used to do some advanced work for politicians that it would be really difficult to advance and to control that environment. But you know, our people were funny and entertaining, but there really weren't many of them. At any given time, I'd say the ratio of media was like 50 to 1. 50 media for every one protester. I'm just going to kind of throw out that. It was overwhelming, whatever that was. So our side was entertaining and but not organized in any way, shape, or form. The anti-Trump people, oh my God, they were not funny or humorous. They do not have a sense of humor in any way, shape, or form. But God, were they organized. Now, I know we're in New York City, which is like, 75% Biden, 75% Clinton, something like that they voted. But boy, are these people organized, and but no humor. No humor. They were all business. They were all business. They were. They had the drums beating, the whole thing. And then when it came for Marjorie Taylor Greene to talk, they specifically issued whistles. Like a dog, like a referee whistle, that type of thing. Dog whistle. Dog whistle you can't hear, hence the phrase. They issued whistles. So when it was time for Marjorie Taylor Greene to talk in this giant media scrum, all you could hear was referee whistles, jogger was those whistles. That was it. And because they specifically wanted to drown her out, and they were successful in doing that. This reminds me of the posters I saw when the lawyer, the judge, spoke out in Stanford a couple weeks ago. They said counter speech is speech. They just wanted to drown her out, and sadly, they were successful. She then exited the park to the rear, I believe, and then went to the side street where there's a big media scrum over there. I did not follow her, but I think she did some interviews over there that would have been slightly out of earshot of the whistles. But boy, were the anti-Trump people organized. There were definitely more of them, I think, in the end. In the beginning, there was only like 4 or 5 anti-Trump people, but they gained steam as the afternoon went on. The cops were fantastic. I really think that they were super well organized to deal with the two sets of protesters. They had this park, which is directly across from 100 Center Street. It's Collect Pond Park, I think it's called. There used to be a pond, apparently. And they had it divided in two effectively, and they did a really good job. There were all sorts of police brass on scene. I was in the kind of the back of the park where the kind of the command were, and they were conferencing constantly. There were a lot of cops everywhere, keeping the egresses more or less open. They had people at the gates of the park to make sure that the anti-Trump people didn't go into the Trump side, and the pro-Trump people didn't go into the so more or less kept everyone separate, which was fine. I heard later on in the day, and I wasn't here to verify this, but I heard, and I saw a photo, that they took the barrier away and just made it all one park again. And I was like, that's probably not a good idea. But overall, cops were fantastic. New York City continues to move. If you were beyond 3 blocks of that courthouse, you wouldn't know that it was even happening. First off, Manhattan is just so giant and everything, but there's so much else going on in New York that while that did kind of occupy the first, say, like 2 or 3 blocks of that area, you had no idea if you were other parts of New York. I was in Chinatown and elsewhere. I stayed in Chinatown. I never stayed in Chinatown before. I've been to New York many, many times. I never stayed there, but it was affordable and it was walkable. I wanted to make sure I could just walk right over the courthouse, which I did on Tuesday morning, and I was also there Monday night. And then I also went up to Trump Tower on Monday afternoon. So overall, a great visit. Unbelievable, like how desperate the media is for Trump. I mean, they need him. They need him in order to basically make budget, right? To make their numbers, because without Trump, they're sunk. All right, so from Plymouth, America's hometown, Massachusetts, I'm John F. Gately. Thanks for watching.